He woke up in a stranger's body, and the first thing he saw was his new mother being kicked into a lake of acid. 3 seconds. That's all it takes for a person to be reduced to bones. The master finishes his plum tea from a porcelain cup without even looking up, and slave number 4471, on his knees, memorizes his face. Wei Changming sets the cup on the tray with a clink as if he'd finished his meal. He kicked her just like that, just because he was bored while the slave chooses which member of his family will jump. Ziyu's father screams. 2 guards beat him with spear shafts on his ribs, his back, and the back of his head until the scream turns to a wheeze and the wheeze to silence. His father's body stiffens at the edge of the dam. Next is his sister, Han Meyer, 7 years old. She stands barefoot on the rock and doesn't cry. She has already forgotten how to cry in the marshes. Changmin takes her by the chin with 2 fingers, the way one would grab a puppy by the scruff. He turns her face toward the light and mutters that in a couple of years, the girl will grow up and come in handy in a brothel in the capital. The guards laugh. He lets her go and walks over to Ziyu. He bends down and spits in his face. Saliva runs down his cheek and drips into the mud. Then he rips the wooden amulet of his mother from his neck, the only thing that slave number 4471 could still call his own. Changmin twirls the amulet between his fingers and tosses it into the palanquin like a worthless trinket. He leaves. 4 slaves carry their master through the toxic mud back to the camp. And now for the strangest part. Ziyu doesn't remember how he ended up here. The last thing left in his mind is a truck on a night road and a blow to the side at 120 miles per hour. The corporation resolved the issue with his report in the simplest way possible, and then he opened his eyes in the body of a 17-year-old boy with 14 whip scars on his back and lungs scorched by the poisonous air of the Rotting Marshes. 3 Qing on the purity scale. Rock bottom. And the first thing this new world gave him was the sight of his mother dissolving in acid. He sinks his hands into the mud. His palms disappear into the sludge up to his wrists. And this is where what shouldn't be here begins. His fingers tingle. It doesn't hurt. It's different. Every drop of liquid around his hands seems to separate into layers. He feels pure water trapped in poison like a grain in its husk. He doesn't understand what it is, but he remembers it. Zhuo Yi stands up. His knees are shaking. His body is weak. He watches the palanquin leave and makes up his mind. Wei Changming, I will take your water from you, then your name, then your face, in that order. He doesn't shout. He decides this as an engineer solves a problem, coldly and calmly. At night, 380 slaves lie in a barrack made of rotten reeds, coughing, moans. Someone calls out a name in their sleep that will never answer. The average lifespan of a slave in the marshes is 47 days. Zhuo Yi lies on the earthen floor and thinks not of revenge, about water. In his past life, he designed industrial wastewater treatment systems. He knows molecular filtration, ion exchange, and cascade distillation. He knows how to turn poison into a resource. There is one question. Do the laws of chemistry apply in a world where water is subject to the scale of purity and priests purify it through the power of ritual? In the morning, he goes out to the acid lake, that very one. He dips his hand into the water. The acid burns his skin. Blisters crawl up his forearm. And again, for now, separation, division. Water separates from poison. Poison separates from water. A handful of clear liquid remains in his palm, and between his fingers a murky yellow crystal the size of a fingernail hardens. This isn't the priest's magic. It's something else. Something not found in any imperial classification. An old slave named Gu sees the clear water in his palm and recoils. He whispers that it's impossible, that not even the priests of Qinghe purify water with their bare hands, that such a thing is punishable by death. Zhou Yi remains silent. He looks at the poison crystal and thinks of the flask of clear water on Changmin's belt, about the porcelain cup of plum tea. For 6 days, he trains without a break. Every morning before dawn, every night when the overseers fall asleep. Hands in acid, separation, purification, crystallization. The first day, 5 qing and burns up to his elbows. On the second day, 8 qin, and his skin peels off in patches. On the third day, 12, and the burns heal faster than they appear. Something changes inside him. Every purified drop washes away not the water, but himself. On the fourth day, 20 qin, and he feels the water not only in the lake, but also in the ground beneath his feet. On the fifth day, 30 qin per hour, faster than the imperial priest. On the sixth, he purifies 50 qin per minute. And exactly on the sixth day, the tax collector of the House of Wei arrives at the camp with the imperial priest. The priest must bless the water for the overseers, standard procedure, 30 qin per hour. The priest lays out the ritual implements and mutters purification formulas. Ziyu steps forward. 380 slaves are watching him. The overseers grab their staffs. He says he wants to check his rank on the stone of assessment. Slaves are allowed to do this once a year. The priest smirks. The collector nods. Let him have his fun. The assessment stone stands by the gate, a gray pillar as tall as a man on which numbers appear when a hand touches it. Zhu Yi places his palm on the stone. The numbers on the stone creep upward. 5, 10. The priest yawns. 15, 20. The priest stops yawning. 25. The tax collector takes a step forward. 30. The stone begins to hum. 32, 33, 34. The stone flashes white and the number freezes. 34 qing. Transparent rank. The upper limit. The priest drops his ritual staff. He is 11 qing. He spent 20 years of his life to reach 11, and standing before him is a 17-year-old slave with a number instead of a name, displaying 34 in 7 days. The camp is silent. 380 people stare at the stone and hold their breath. The overseers exchange glances. One of them slowly removes his hand from the staff. Zhou does not look at the stone. He turns toward the barrel of acid water that the priest had been preparing to purify for an hour. He approaches. He lowers both hands into the barrel. The water hisses. Bubbles race across the surface. 12 seconds, he counts to himself. On the 12th second, he raises his hands. The water in the barrel is clear. 60 qin of clear water. Twice as fast as the priest, 5 times the volume. In his palms lies a crystal of extracted poison. Yellow-green, the size of a fist, hard as stone. The priest looks at the crystal and his face turns pale. He knows what it is. Crystallized poison. The concentrate of what makes the topi deadly. That amount is enough to poison a well for 200 people. Ziyu hands the crystal to the tax collector, calmly, his face expressionless. He tells him to pass it on to Wei Changmin. It's his share of water for today. The collector doesn't take the crystal. His hands are shaking. He stumbles backward and trips over his own boot. The slaves around them begin to whisper. Ziyu places the crystal on the ground in front of the collector and returns to the ranks. He stands among the slaves as if nothing had happened. That night, the camp doesn't sleep. People approach Zhou Yi one by one, 2 at a time. Old Man Gu comes first. He sits down next to him and is silent for a long time. Then he says he's seen many deaths in the marshes, but has never seen anyone purify acid water with their bare hands. He asks who he is. Jiu replies that he is slave number 4,471, no one else. Gu shakes his head and says that numbers aren't capable of doing what he did. Then Baek Song-ho arrives, a former imperial sapper, 41 Qing, exiled to the swamps for disobeying an order, 3 years in acid sludge. His hands are covered in sores. He sits down across from Ziyu and looks him in the eyes. He says he saw a crystal. He says that in the Imperial Army they used such crystals for sabotage on waterways. 1 crystal in an aqueduct and a whole city drinks poison. He asks if Jiu knows what he's holding in his hands. Jiu knows. He's an engineer. He understands that crystallized poison isn't just purification waste. It's a weapon. It's currency. It's leverage. Baek Song-ho says the tax collector has already sent a messenger to Wei Changmin. By morning, soldiers will be here. Jiu nods. He was expecting this. He spends the next 3 hours by the lake, purifying water, not for himself, for the camp. He fills every vessel, every wineskin, every clay bowl with clean water. For the first time in years, 380 slaves drink water without the taste of sulfur. Old woman Ma sits by the fire and watches him. The former priestess Qing He, 55 Qing, exiled for heresy. She claimed that the great schism of the heavens was not a catastrophe, but a ritual. For this, they cut the mark of a priestess from her forehead and sent her to die in the marshes. She has been here for 14 years, longer than any other slave. Ma looks at Ziyu and her lips move. She whispers a word that Ziyu cannot hear. But Baek Song-ho hears it and turns around. Ma said one word, Han. Morning comes with dust. 12 horsemen on the crest of the hill. Not soldiers, worse, the salt dogs. Mercenaries of the Wei house specializing in killing gifted slaves before they escape. Each between 40 and 55 Qing, pure rank. They don't ask, they don't warn, they don't line up. The commander jumps off his horse and walks toward the barracks. He wears leather armor soaked in salt. Salt in the marshes is more valuable than silver. It is the only thing that slows decay. The commander stops in front of Ziyu. He looks down at him. He says that Wei Changmin sends his regards, and that he liked the crystal. He liked it so much that he wants the creator in one piece, alive, without hands, hands separate. Jiu stands barefoot on the poisonous ground. 34 Qing against 12 fighters aged 40 to 55. The math is simple. He's losing. In a head-on battle, he doesn't stand a chance. But Jiu isn't a fighter. He's an engineer. And 3 hours ago, he wasn't just purifying water. He was preparing the battlefield. Poison crystals lie buried in the ground around the camp. 14 crystals buried to the depth of a palm. When heated, each releases a vapor capable of corroding the lungs from a distance of 10 paces. Baek Song-ho knows imperial military doctrine. He arranged the crystals in the pattern of a sabotage minefield. 3 rings, outer, middle, inner. The commander of the salt dogs takes another step. His boot presses into the ground 2 inches from the first crystal. Jiu looks at that boot. Then he looks up at the commander and says one sentence, "Tell Wei Changmin that I'll come for water." The commander of the salt dogs draws his sword from its sheath. The blade glistens with salt. The other 11 fan out across the camp, a standard encirclement tactic. Baek Song-ho explained it last night. The dogs don't attack all at once. They tighten the ring. They squeeze the target toward the center. Then they strike from 4 sides simultaneously. Against a gifted slave, it works every time. Against an engineer with a minefield, it never works. Jiu retreats. 2 steps back. 3. He counts. The commander follows him. The 4th dog circles around to the right. His boot presses into the loose earth 3 steps from the barracks. A crystal underground bursts under the pressure. Yellow steam rises instantly, soundless, without warning. The 4th dog takes a breath and his throat closes up. He grabs his neck with both hands, falls to his knees, Pink foam comes out of his mouth. The fifth and sixth dogs stand nearby. The vapor engulfs them in 2 seconds. The fifth manages to cover his face with his sleeve. The sixth does not. The sixth falls face first into the mud and doesn't move anymore. The commander turns at the sound of falling bodies. His eyes widen. 3 dogs on the ground in 4 seconds. No fight, no blow, no visible enemy. He shouts the order to retreat to the horses. Too late. Baek Song-ho activates the second ring. He strikes the ground with his heel at the right spot. 2 crystals shatter simultaneously. Steam rises like a wall. 2 dogs at the tethers fall before they can turn. The horses rear up and tear at their tethers. The commander runs. He is fast. 55 Qing give him a speed that Zhou Yue lacks. He breaks through the cloud of steam, holding his breath. He emerges into the open space behind the camp. 3 dogs follow him. 4 lie on the ground. 2 are coughing on their knees. 1 is already dead. The commander stops. He turns around. He looks at Zhuo Yi through the yellow haze. His face is wet with sweat and poison. His eyes are red. He understands. The boy isn't fighting. The boy poisoned the ground around them even before they arrived. The commander says that such tricks won't save him from the House of Wei, that others will come after them, that Wei Gochu will personally give the order to raze the camp to the ground. Ziyu doesn't answer. He stands at the edge of the lake, the very same lake where his mother drowned 7 days ago. Acidic water splashes against his bare feet. He dips his hand into the lake. The water trembles. Not from the wind, from him. He feels every drop within a radius of 20 paces. 34 Qing and a skill that shouldn't exist. The water rises, a thin stream, like a whip. It strikes the ground between the commander and his men. Where the water touches the soil, the grass turns black and crumbles. An acid whip. The commander jumps back. One of the dogs doesn't make it in time. The stream grazes his forearm. His skin blisters. He screams and throws down his sword. The commander looks at the lake. He looks at the slave boy who controls the acid water with his bare hands. And for the first time, there is fear in his eyes, not anger. He turns around. He runs. The 2 remaining dogs run after him. They leave the dead and wounded behind. They leave the horses behind. They run through the marshes toward the road leading to the Wei estate. Ziyu stands by the lake. His hand is lowered. The water calms down. He counts. 4 are dead. 3 are wounded. 2 are coughing and cannot stand. 3 have escaped. The commander is alive. That's bad. A living commander will report to Wei Changmin what happened. But Zhou Yi had counted on that too. The more Changmin learns, the more frightened he'll become. And a frightened enemy makes mistakes. Baek Song-ho approaches and stands beside him. He is silent. Then he says that he used to set up fields like this for the Imperial Army, against the rebels, against gifted deserters, and he has never once seen anyone come up with the idea of crystallizing poison into mines overnight. Ziyu replies that this is not an invention. It's an engineering solution. The difference is that an engineering solution can be replicated, scaled up, improved. The camp is buzzing. Slaves are coming out of the barracks. They saw 12 salt dogs enter the camp, but only 3 came out. Old Man Gu stands by the body of the dead dog and looks at his face. Then he turns to Zhou Yi. His eyes are wet. He says that this dog killed his son 2 years ago, took him away at night and returned him in the morning without a head, for stealing a sip of water from the overseer's canteen. Gu drops to his knees before Zhou Yi, not like a slave before a master, like a man before a man. Zhou Yi helps him up. He says there's no need to kneel anymore. Not before anyone, never again. By evening, he checks on the wounded dogs. 2 are dead. 1 is still breathing. His name is Jin Dao, 48 Qing, a former salt dog. The poison from the crystal has already entered his blood. Without purification, he'll be dead by morning. Ziyu sits down next to him. He looks at him. Then he places his hand on his forearm and does something he has never tried before. He doesn't purify the water. He purifies the blood, the living blood inside the body. The poison seeps out through the pores, yellow droplets on the skin. They harden into tiny crystals and crumble like sand. Jindeo breathes. He opens his eyes. He looks at Jiyu's hand on his forearm and remains silent for a very long time. Then he asks why. Ziyu answers, because a living dog that has seen the truth is more useful than a dead one. Because the House of Wei left him to die. Because he needs eyes and hands beyond the marshes. Jindeo remains silent even longer. Then he sits down. He winces in pain and says that the commander will reach Wei Changmin in 2 days. On the 3rd day, it won't be the dogs who come. Someone worse will come. Ziyu nods. He knows. Wei Changmin won't stop. He'll run to his father, Wei Gozhu, patriarch of the Wei House, 64 Qing, crystal rank. The man who owns every slave in the marshes like furniture in his own home. The man who decides whether you live or die with a single flick of his finger. Wei Changmin. I'm going to get water, then by name, then by face. On the 2nd day after the dog's demise, old woman Ma arrives. She stands at the entrance to the barracks and waits for Ziyu to finish his morning cleansing. He has already perfected the ritual. 2 hours by the lake every morning. Hands in acid, separation, purification, crystallization. 380 people receive clean water every day without fail. He's no longer purifying 50 Qing per minute, but 70. His Qing index is rising. He can feel it. Every purified drop washes something inside him, as if his own blood were becoming purer with each cycle. Ma waits. When he finishes, she comes over and sits down on a rock beside him. She is silent. Then she says she knows who he is. Zhou asks what she means. Ma says that 14 years ago, when she was brought to Topi, she met a woman with the same ability. Not as strong, weaker, much weaker. The woman could purify water with a touch, but only 1 drop at a time, 1 Qing per hour. That woman was Zhou mother. She was the last of the Han clan. Ma pauses. She looks at the lake. Then she continues. She says that 200 years ago, the Han clan was the most powerful on the Hyogyong continent. Not the army, not because of the land, because of their skill. The Han clan knew how to purify water, any water. They made rivers clean, lakes drinkable. They wanted to make water free for the entire continent, and the 3 houses killed them for it. Shen, Liu, Wei. They performed a ritual. The great schism of the heavens, the black rain that turned half the continent into the rotting marshes, and they declared the Han clan guilty, heretics, the cause of the catastrophe. They slaughtered every last one of them, except for 1 branch, the one that hid in the marshes, among the slaves, where no one would look. Zhou listens and doesn't interrupt. He doesn't know if this is the truth or the ramblings of an old woman who's been sitting in poison for 14 years. But one thing he knows for sure, his skill is growing too fast, not like a student's, like a person who's remembering what they already knew. Ma says one more thing. The poison in the swamps isn't a natural toxin. It's the blood of the Han clan spilled on the ground 200 years ago. Every crystal that Ziyu extracts is a tear from his ancestors. Ziyu is silent. He stares at the crystal in his hand, yellow-green, warm. He didn't know tears could be this color. He puts the crystal in his pocket and heads toward Baeksong-ho. There's work to be done. Jindeo left at dawn. Zhou gave him a task, to sneak to the nearest imperial outpost and find out where Han Mire is now, his sister, 9 years old. The Wei House brand on her shoulder. The brand must be removed before her 10th birthday, in 11 months. If the brand fuses with the bone, nothing can remove it. She will remain the property of the Wei house forever. It's a timer. It's ticking. Ziyu and Baek Song-ho spend the whole day by the lake, not clearing, building. Joyi draws a diagram on the ground with a stick. Baek Song-ho looks at it and is silent for a long time. Then he says it's madness. Joyi says it's an aqueduct. Reed tubes saturated with crystallized salt. Clay filter chambers packed with layers of sand and crushed crystal. A cascade purification system. The principle of reverse osmosis adapted to the materials of the rotting marshes. Water from the lake passes through 6 stages. Acid at the inlet, drinking water at the outlet, without Jiyu's hands, without skill. No Qing, just physics, just engineering. Baek Song-ho asks how slave number 4471 knows such things. Ziyu does not answer. They build for 3 days. The slaves help. First 10, then 30, then all 380. They cut reeds. They knead clay. They collect salt from the bodies of dead dogs. Leather armor soaked in salt is used for filters. Irony, the people who were sent to kill the slaves now provide the materials for their survival. On the 4th day, the aqueduct is working. 800 jin of clean water a day, without Ziyu. He stands and watches as the water flows through the reed pipes. Clear, pure. 380 people no longer depend on his hands. They depend on the system. The system works as long as the structure stands. The structure can be repaired, repeated, scaled up. Baek Song-ho stands nearby and shakes his head. He says that in 3 years in the marshes, he's seen people die, fighting over a drop, killing for a sip. And this boy is building an aqueduct out of reeds and dead mercenaries. Ziyu isn't listening. He's calculating. 800 Qing a day is 400 days' wages for a craftsman. That's economics, small scale, insignificant by the standards of the House of Wei, but enough for 380 people to stop being slaves and become something else. Producers, suppliers. He thinks of Wei Guochu, 64 Qing, crystal rank. The patriarch isn't angry on his son's behalf. He's angry that an asset not belonging to him has appeared in the marshes. Ziyu understands this. He worked in a corporation. He knows how people who own everything think. They don't hate competitors. They swallow them up or destroy them. There is no third option. On the 5th day, Jin Deo returns. He is wounded. His left arm hangs limply. His clothes are covered in blood. He ran for 2 days. At the outpost, he was identified as a deserter, and 2 soldiers chased him to the border of Topia. He killed one. The second turned back. Jin Deo falls to his knees before Joyi and says 3 things. First, Han Meyer is alive. She is at the Wei estate, 60 li from Tope. She works in the kitchen. Second, Wei Changming did not run to his father. He ran to the 3rd prince, Jiang Helian, 69 Qing, the emperor's youngest son, exiled to oversee the province. Changming offered him a gifted slave with an unprecedented skill in purification in exchange for protection and patronage. The 3rd prince took an interest. Third, in 10 days, it will not be the dogs or soldiers who come to the camp. An imperial inspector will arrive with the mandate from the 3rd prince. A formal inspection. The inspector will be accompanied by a detachment of 50 fighters, aged 30 to 45 Qing. They will take Jiyu as an imperial asset, legally, by Qinghe's right over the Topei slaves. Ziyu listens. He counts. 10 days. His current reading, after 2 weeks of continuous purification, is no longer 34. He approaches the assessment stone at the camp gate. He places his hand on it. The number creeps up. 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46, 47. The stone hums. 47 Qing, pure rank, in 2 weeks. Baek Song-ho stands behind him and sees the number. It took him 20 years of military service to reach 41 Qing. The boy surpassed him in 14 days. He doesn't say a word. He just stands there. He just watches. Ziyu removes his hand. 47 Qing. In 10 days, it will be more.
More is needed. Wei Chengmin. Water. Name. Face. I haven't forgotten. The Imperial Inspector arrives on the 9th day, a day earlier than Jindeo promised. Jiu stands by the aqueduct and senses them long before they appear on the horizon. He senses the water in their bodies. 53 people, 50 soldiers and 3 officials, water in their flasks, water in their blood. He closes his eyes and counts. Each of the 50 soldiers carries 2 flasks of 10 Qing each, 1,000 Qing of water, 4 days of self-sufficiency. They planned to linger. The inspector enters the camp first, a short, gaunt man in a gray imperial robe with the third prince's insignia on his shoulder. 31 Qin, an official, not a soldier. Behind him are 2 assistants with registration scrolls. Behind them, 50 soldiers in a line formation. The inspector surveys the camp. He sees the aqueduct. He sees the slaves standing not on their knees, but on their feet. He sees clean water flowing through the reed pipes. His face is expressionless. He is used to showing no emotion. But his assistant on the right makes a brief note in the scroll, and his hand trembles. The inspector asks where slave number 4471 is. Zhou steps forward. The inspector looks at him. A 17-year-old boy, barefoot. The scars on his back are visible through the holes in his shirt. His eyes are calm, too calm for a slave. The inspector unrolls the scroll and reads, "By order of the third prince of Jiang Herlian province, slave number 4471, skilled in water purification, is to be removed from the mining camp and transferred to the palace service department." Simply put, they'll take him away. They'll give him clean clothes. They'll house him in the barracks at the third prince's palace. And he'll purify water for one master instead of another. Slavery won't end. It'll just get a silk collar. Ziyu listens to the end. Then he says he's requesting a rank verification on the stone of assessment. The inspector frowns. He says it isn't necessary. Zhou says he has the right to do so once a year under the Qing He Imperial Law, paragraph 17 of the slave statute. The inspector knows the law. He cannot refuse. They go to the stone. 50 soldiers follow them. 380 slaves come out of the barracks. All of them. They stand in a semicircle, silently. Zhou places his hand on the assessment stone. 9 days ago, it was 47. 9 days of continuous purification. Lake number 4, lake number 6. The stream at the eastern edge of the camp. The groundwater beneath the barracks. He purified everything he could reach. Every day, every night. Growth through work. The dirtier the source, the greater the gain. The stone hums. The number creeps up. 50. The inspector shows no reaction. 55. The inspector raises an eyebrow. 56. 57. 58. The stone glows. Not white like last time. Blue. 58 Qing. Pure rank. The upper limit. 21 days from a slave with a C to the upper limit of pure rank. The inspector stands motionless. His assistants are frozen. 50 soldiers stare at the stone. 58 Qing. That's higher than their garrison commander. Higher than the inspector. Higher than most officers in the Imperial Army. For a 17-year-old slave, barefoot, in a tattered shirt. The inspector slowly rolls the scroll back up. His hands do not tremble, but his movements have become mechanical. He says that the third prince's decree applies to slaves of the pure rank and below. 58 Qing, the upper limit of the pure rank. Formally, the decree is still in effect. Ziyu says he understands, and adds one thing. The aqueduct in the camp produces 800 Qing of clean water a day. If they take him, the aqueduct will stop. 380 slaves will be drinking acid again. The mortality rate will return to normal. 47 days. The empire will lose its workforce. Dead slaves do not extract dragon tears. Dead slaves do not pay taxes. This is not a threat. This is arithmetic. The inspector is silent. He is a bureaucrat. He calculates. Jiu continues. He says he is ready to supply 300 Qin of clean water a day to the third prince's office, free of charge. No intermediary, no mandate. Delivery will begin tomorrow and continue as long as the aqueduct stands. In return, he asks for one thing: an imperial patent for the camp, a standard license for a production facility. Not freedom, not status, a piece of paper, which states that the camp is a supplier and cannot be arbitrarily disbanded. The inspector stares at him for a long time. Then he asks how a slave knows about imperial patents. Jiu replies that he heard it from a sapper. Baek Song-ho stands in the crowd and doesn't smile, but his eyes say he's smiling inside. The inspector thinks he is an official of the third prince. The third prince wants a gifted slave, but the third prince also wants water. 300 Qing a day for free is more than any provincial priest produces in a week. And no upkeep, no expenses. The inspector says the decision isn't his to make. He'll report to the third prince. The answer will come in 7 days. Ziyu nods. 7 days. He can work with that. The inspector leaves. 50 soldiers follow him. They look back. Some look back twice. They will remember this camp. They'll remember the boy with 58 Qing and the reed aqueduct. As the column disappears behind the hills, Baek Song-ho approaches Ziyu. He says the move with the patent was a good one, but the third prince isn't a fool. He'll realize that Ziyu is buying time. Ziyu replies that time is all he needs. In 7 days, he'll raise his score above pure, above the mandate limit. Then taking him as a slave will become legally impossible. They'll have to declare a hunt. And a manhunt for a crystal-ranked individual is a scandal at the provincial level. The third prince won't want such a scandal. He'll prefer a deal. Baek Song-ho shakes his head. He says that Ziyu thinks like a merchant. Jiu replies that he thinks like an engineer. Merchants seek profit. Engineers build systems. He is building a system in which the House of Wei cannot get to him without destroying what brings them profit. Every day the aqueduct works is a day he cannot be killed. At night, Jiu sits alone by the lake. The water is black. The moon reflects in the acid as a murky spot. He thinks of Meyer. 60 li. 3 days on foot through Topi and 2 days on the road. He cannot go after her now. If he leaves, the aqueduct will stop working. The slaves will be left without water. The camp's defenses will collapse. Changmin will find out and send people. 380 lives against 1. He knows the right answer, and he hates it. Old woman Ma sits down beside him. She is silent. Then she says that the Han clan always chose the many, always put the common good above the personal, and they were destroyed for it, because those who put the common good above the personal threaten those who put the personal above all else. Jiu. Then he says he'll take his sister, not now, but he will, before she turns 10. This isn't a request or a hope. It's a point in an engineering plan. Ma nods. Then she says something else. quietly, almost in a whisper. She says that the purity scale lies, that the upper limit is not 100 Qing, that once upon a time the Han clan displayed numbers that do not exist in the current system. Jiu Yi turns to her. Ma is silent. She has already said too much for one night. She stands up and walks into the darkness. Jiu Yi remains alone. He looks at his hands. Hands that purify poison. Hands that kill. Hands that build aqueducts out of reeds. Hands of the last heir to a clan that was wiped off the face of the earth 200 years ago. He dips them into the lake. The acid fizzes. The water splits apart. Crystals settle on his fingers. The tears of his ancestors. He doesn't know if Meyer is sleeping right now. He doesn't know if they're beating her. He doesn't know if she remembers his face. But he knows one thing. Wei Changmin. Water. Name. Face. I'm coming. Ziyu hasn't slept for 5 days. He is purifying. Lake number 4. Lake number 6. Lake number 9 on the northern border of Topi, where slaves do not go because the air there burns the throat after 10 breaths. Jiu Yi goes there alone. He wraps his face in a wet rag soaked in clean water. The rag dries out in 20 minutes. He takes 10 with him. Lake number 9 is the dirtiest of them all. The water in it isn't yellow, but black, thick as oil. Bubbles burst on the surface, and each bubble emits a cloud of steam that makes his skin crack. Jiu Yi lowers his hands. The pain is instantaneous. The skin on his palm swells with blisters and bursts. Blood mixes with acid. But the skill works. The life filter works more voraciously than ever. The dirtier the source, the greater the gain. Lake number 9 is the dirtiest source in the marshes. Jiu Yi feels the separation happening not only in the water, but within himself as well. Each purification cycle washes through his channels, expands them, accelerates the flow of qi through his body. Crystals settle on his hands in layers, not yellow, black, large, each the size of a finger. They are hot. One of them hisses and crackles like coal. Jiu Yi carefully places it on a rock. The crystal burns through the rock to a depth of 2 fingers. He looks at the hole in the rock and makes a mental note. This type of crystal will most likely explode upon impact. He needs to test it. Carefully. He cleans for 4 hours. Then his hands stop obeying him. Not from pain, from exhaustion. The body of a 17-year-old slave cannot withstand the strain imposed on it by the mind of a 28-year-old engineer. He returns to camp, lies down, falls asleep for 3 hours. He wakes up. He goes back. On the 3rd day, Baek Song-ho finds him unconscious by lake number 9, face in the mud, arms up to the elbows in black water, crystals scattered around him like shards of glass. Baek Song-ho pulls him out by his legs. He pours clean water on his face. Ziyu opens his eyes. The first thing he says is a number, 54 crystals. He purified 200 Qing from lake number 9 and obtained 54 black crystals. Baek Song-ho curses. He says that no one needs a dead hero. Ziyu sits down. He looks at his hands. The burns are already healing, faster than before, much faster. The skin is tightening before his eyes. He feels it. Growth, a surge, as if something inside had broken through a wall and gushed forth. He stands up and walks toward the stone of judgment. Baek Song-ho follows him, hand on the stone. The number creeps up, 60, 61. The stone hums, 61 Qing, crystal rank. Baek Song-ho stands behind him and doesn't say a word. 61 Qing. 3 weeks ago, it was 3. Crystal rank in 3 weeks. That doesn't happen. It can't be. Qing He priests spend their entire lives trying to break through the pure ceiling. Most die without ever reaching 60. Baek Song-ho quietly states that the 3rd prince's mandate is now invalid. The mandate extends up to and including the pure rank. The crystal rank is already outside its jurisdiction. To take a crystal rank master, an order from the prince himself, confirmed by the imperial seal, is required. And that is a procedure that takes a month. A month! Ziyu has bought himself a month. He nods, but he does not smile.
One number burns in his mind like a red-hot nail. Not 61, another number, 14. 14 traces of poison in his blood. Every crystal he creates leaves a mark. The black crystals from lake number 9 leave heavier traces than the yellow ones. He feels them, like foreign bodies in his blood, like grains of sand in his veins. Ma warned him, if he accumulates too many traces of one type, he will become poisonous to those he loves. Touching his sister will be deadly. He must grow faster than the poison accumulates. It's a race, and he isn't sure he's winning. In the evening, Jin Deo brings news. He went to the outpost disguised in the dead dog's clothes. They didn't recognize him. The guards at the outpost have changed. New faces, new rumors, 3 rumors. The first, Wei Changming has returned to his father's estate. He was seen in full armor with a flask on his belt. He is preparing for something. Second, Third Prince Zhang Herlian received the inspector's report. He did not issue a new mandate. He sent a letter, a personal one. The recipient is unknown, but the messenger rode toward the capital. Third, in 2 months, the annual Purity Tournament will take place in the provincial capital. The Wei House fields fighters every year. This year, Wei Changming is listed as the main participant. His rating on the entry form is 41 Qing. He's risen from 38. Zhou Yi listens and calculates. The Purity Tournament, a public event, 12,000 spectators, imperial observers, rating stones in the arena. Everything is out in the open. Everything is in plain sight. Everything is measurable. If he enters the tournament and defeats Wei Changming in front of the entire province, it won't just be revenge. It will be a statement, proof, that Qinghe's monopoly on water is based not on strength, but on fear. And fear can be shattered by numbers on stone. Baek Song-ho says the tournament is a trap, that the Wei House will be ready, that the arena is their territory. Zhou Yi replies that that is exactly why he will go there, because retribution must be public. Changmin killed his mother on the dam, without witnesses, without consequences, because slaves don't count. Zhou Yi will break him in the arena, in front of 12,000 eyes, because that's how it works. Power can only be broken in the light. He steps aside, sits down on a rock by the lake. Lake number 4, the very one. The water in it is already clearer than it was. He's cleaned it halfway in 3 weeks. Another month and it will be fit for life. The first purified lake in the Rotting Marshes in 200 years. He thinks about Ma's words, about the Khan clan, about a skill that isn't relearned but remembered, about the scale of purity that lies, about the upper limit that doesn't exist. He dips his hand into the water. The acid barely stings. His body has adapted. Or remembered. The water splits in his palm. Pure moisture trickles between his fingers. A crystal settles on his knuckles. Small, pale, almost transparent. This crystal won't poison the well. It's too weak. The lake is dying. The poison is fading. Ziyu looks at the crystal and thinks that Ma is right. It's a tear shed by his ancestors 200 years ago, and he collects them one by one. Ma approaches and stands behind him. He feels the water in her body. 55 Qing, old, tired. The water inside her moves slowly, like a river in winter. Ma says that tomorrow he needs to start building a second aqueduct. Lake number 6 is twice the size of number 4. If they connect it to the system, the camp will produce 2,000 Qing a day.
That will be enough not only for the slaves, but also for trade with the outposts. Ziyu nods. He's already thought about this. 2 aqueducts, then 3, then 5, then the entire Topi system. An alternative water economy. Not a monopoly, not control. Access. Every sip of clean water he produces is a blow to the House of Shen and the Great Aqueduct. Quiet, slow, engineered, but a blow. Ma smiles. For the first time in 14 years. Then she stops. She says House Shen will notice, and when they do, it will be worse than the dogs, worse than the prince, because House Shen owns the Great Aqueduct, and to them, a boy who makes water from poison isn't an anomaly. It's the end of their world. Ziyu is silent. Then he says that's exactly what he's counting on. The second aqueduct is built in 5 days. Lake number 6 is twice the size of number 4, and the water in it is thicker. Ziyu designs an 8-stage filtration system instead of 6. 2 additional stages for heavy metals that settle at the bottom of the 6th lake as a layer of black sludge. Baek Song-ho oversees the construction. He has stopped asking how Ziyu knows such things. He just builds. The slaves work, not because they were ordered to, because they drink clean water every day, and for the first time in years, their gums have stopped bleeding. For the first time in years, the children aren't coughing at night. For the first time in years, whoever is looking at them and seeing people, not numbers. 120 slaves from the neighboring camp arrive on the 3rd day. They've heard. Rumors in the marshes run faster than the dogs, that there is water in the 4th camp, clean, free, that there's a boy there who cleans the lakes with his bare hands, that the salt dogs came and didn't return. 120 people stand at the camp's border and wait. Ziyu goes out to them. He looks. Tattered clothes, sores on their hands and faces, children with swollen bellies from bad water, old men who look 60 but are actually 30. The swamps age people threefold. He silently steps aside and points to the aqueduct. Drink. By evening, there are 500 people in the camp. More will come in a week. Baek Song-ho counts the supplies and says that 2,000 ching a day will be enough for 600 people if they can serve. Not enough for 1,000. Ziyu replies that they will build a 3rd aqueduct, and a 4th, and a 5th, as long as there are enough lakes. Baek Song-ho asks, what if the lakes run out? Ziyu says the lakes won't run out. The wetlands cover a 1/3 of the continent. There's enough poison to last 1,000 years. And every drop of poison is a drop of pure water waiting for someone to separate them. On the 12th day after the inspector's visit, Jin Deo returns from reconnaissance. The news is bad. 3 pieces of news, and all of them are bad. First, the 3rd prince, Jiang Helien, has responded to Ziyu's proposal. He accepts 300 ching a day, but he won't grant the patent. Instead of the patent, he's sending his own man, an observer, a permanent one. The man's name is Gao Lin, 39 ching, a former tax official. He will live in the camp and keep watch. Ziyu understands. The prince doesn't trust him, but doesn't want to lose a source of free water. The observer is a chain, a long one, a silk one, but a chain nonetheless. Second, Wei Changmin has hired a coach. Not just any coach, a master from the capital's Pure Waters Academy, 58 ching. He is preparing Changmin for the tournament. The goal is simple, to raise Changmin from 41 to the maximum in 2 months. To show that the heir of the Wei house is no weaker than a common slave. Ziyu estimates, a 58 ching trainer, 2 months of intensive training with the Wei house's best resources. Changmin might reach 45, maybe 48, hardly higher. Everyone has a talent ceiling, and Changmin isn't from the Han clan. Third, the worst news. Wei Gochu learned that the salt dogs are dead. all but the commander and 2 others. The patriarch of House Wei isn't angry. He never gets angry. He's thinking. And he sent a letter. Not to the third prince, not to the capital, to House Shen, to the owners of the great aqueduct. The letter contains a single line. Jin Dao bribed the courier and read it. The line says that a boy has appeared in the marshes who makes water from poison. House Shen hasn't replied yet, but they will reply. Ziyu is silent. House Shen.
The owners of the 3 surviving springs in the Jade Mountains control over the great aqueduct, a monopoly on water for the entire continent. If they find out that someone is turning the Rotting Marshes into a source of clean water, Ma is right. This is worse than the dogs, worse than the prince. This is a war of annihilation. Because Zhou Yi is not an enemy of House Wei. He is an enemy of the system itself. He is a threat to the economy of an entire continent. 1 ching of clean water is equal to a craftsman's daily wages. If water becomes free, the power of the 3 houses will collapse within a year. They will not allow this. They will destroy him, destroy the camp, destroy everyone who drank his water, and bury the very memory so deep that in 200 years, no one will remember that anyone ever lived here. Just as they already did with the Han clan. Zhou Yi stands by the aqueduct and watches the water flow through the reed pipes. Pure, transparent. 200 years ago, his clan wanted to do the same thing. Make water accessible. And the 3 houses staged the sky split to prevent it, killed millions, poisoned half the continent, turned clean water into currency. He's doing it again, and they'll try to stop him again, only this time he has what the Han clan didn't. Han, knowledge of what happened, an understanding of how the enemy thinks, and engineering calculations. Gao Lin arrives the next day. A thin man with a pale face and watchful eyes. 39 ching. He enters the camp, and the first thing he does is look at the aqueduct. For a long time. He walks around it. He touches the reed tubes. He peeks into the filter chambers. Then he turns to Jiu and says he has never seen anything like it, and that the third prince was right when he decided not to take it by force. People who build such things are more useful at liberty than in a cage. Jiu Yi looks at him and realizes that Gao Lin is not just a spy. He is an appraiser. The third prince sent him to determine the value of an asset. Not Jiu Yi, the aqueduct. Technology. If the technology can be copied, then Jiu Yi is useless. If it can't, then he's irreplaceable. An irreplaceable slave is worth more than a free craftsman. Jiu Yi decides to show Gao Lin exactly as much as necessary. The aqueduct works on the principles of filtration. That's obvious. It can be copied, theoretically. But the crystallization of poison is impossible without the filter of life, and only he possesses the filter of life. So the aqueduct works without Jiu. But crystals do not exist without Jiu. And crystals are weapons, currency, protection, everything that makes the camp not just a water source, but a fortress. He shows Gao Lin the aqueduct, shows him the filters, shows him how the water passes through 8 stages, doesn't show him the crystals, doesn't show him the minefield, doesn't show him lake number 9. Gao Lin takes notes, calculops, nods. He's satisfied. He thinks he understands. He hasn't understood a thing. At night, Jiu Yi cleans. Lake number 4 is almost clean. Another week, and it will be suitable for fish, for life. The first living lake in the swamps in 200 years. He counts his footprints. 18. 4 new ones in the last week. The black crystals from lake number 9 leave the heaviest marks. The timer is ticking. Mire. He must take her away before touching her becomes poison. Wei Chang Ming. Water.
Name. Face. Soon. On the 35th day, Ziyu leaves the camp alone. Without warning. Without explanation. He heads south. Baek-sung-ho sees him from the top of the hill and runs after him. He catches up in half an hour. He asks where he is going. Joey answers with a single word. Mire. Baek-sung-ho stops. He says the Wei estate is 60 li through Topi and another 2 days on the road. He says there's a garrison of 200 soldiers there. He says Wei Gochu is personally at the estate right now. 64 Qing, crystal rank. Even if Zhou breaks through the soldiers, the patriarch will crush him with a single blow. Zhou doesn't stop. He keeps going. Baek-sung-ho curses. Then he falls silent. Then he follows. Jin Deo catches up to them an hour later. He doesn't ask where they're going. He saw Zhou face. Old woman Ma stays at the camp. She takes charge of the aqueducts. 500 people under her supervision. 55 Qing, a former priestess. She'll manage. Gao Lin, the third prince's observer, watches them go and makes a note in his scroll. They walk for 3 days through the marshes. Zhou purifies along the way. Every lake, every stream, every puddle of poisonous water in their path. His rating creeps upward. He feels it without a stone. 62, 63, 64 at Wei Gochu's level. But level isn't strength. The patriarch trained for 40 years. He knows combat techniques, methods for controlling water in another's body, ways to destroy chi channels with a palm strike. Zhou knows chemistry. These are different things. On the 4th day, they come out onto the road. A dirt road, ruts from carts, hoof prints, civilization. After the swamps, it smells different. The air is clean. His lungs expand like a sail in the wind. Zhou stands on the side of the road and breathes. Just breathes. He had forgotten what it was like when the air didn't burn his throat. Jin Deo leads the way. He knows the road, knows the layout of the outposts, knows where the patrols go. A former salt dog, a former slave hunter, now a guide. They bypass 2 outposts at night. The third cannot be bypassed. The road narrows between the cliffs. The only passage. 4 soldiers at the gate. 32, 30, 28, 25 Qing. Small change. Jin Deo suggests taking them out quietly. Ziyu says no. He approaches the outpost during the day, unarmed, dressed as a slave, barefoot, scars on his back. The soldiers see him and grab their swords. Ziyu raises his hand, an open palm, not a gesture of surrender, a gesture of purification. He touches the water barrel standing by the outpost wall. The water in the barrel trembles. 5 seconds. The water becomes clear. A crystal of poison sinks to the bottom. The soldiers watch. One of them slowly takes his hand off his sword. The senior soldier says the barrel was filled that morning from the nearest well. The water was murky as always. They add wormwood leaves to mask the taste of sulfur. Every day. All their lives. The senior soldier looks at the clear water in the barrel, then at Ziyu, then back at the water. He asks who he is. Ziyu replies that he is the one who makes the water clean, and that he needs to pass through. The senior soldier silently opens the gate. They pass through. Jin Deo turns around. Soldiers stand by the barrel. One scoops up water with his palm and drinks. His face changes. Jin Deo has seen many faces, but he has never seen one like this. The face of a man who, for the first time in his life, is drinking water without the taste of poison. On the 5th day, they see the Wei estate. Walls of gray stone, 3 towers, banners bearing the Wei House coat of arms on each. 200 soldiers in the garrison. Zhao Yi stops on a hill and looks. Baek Songho lies down nearby and counts. 2 guard shifts, 4 entrances. The eastern one leads to the outbuildings, to the kitchen. Meyer works there. Jin Dao says a direct assault is impossible. 200 against 3. Even with 64 Qing, it's impossible. Jiao Yi has no intention of storming it. He sits on the hill and waits for nightfall. When it gets dark, he goes down alone. Baek Songho and Jin Dao provide cover from the hill. Baek Songho has 3 black crystals, his last reserve. If anything goes wrong, he'll throw them at the gate. An explosion. Chaos. A chance to retreat. Ziyu walks toward the eastern wall. Not toward the gate, toward the wall. He places his palm on the stone and feels it. Water. In the stone. In the mortar used to bind the masonry. Moisture absorbed over years of rain. Microscopic droplets in the pores of the limestone. He begins to pull. Water flows out of the stone. Slowly. Molecule by molecule. The stone dries out. It cracks. It crumbles. Silently. Without a crash. Without an explosion. The stone simply crumbles into sand when all the moisture leaves it.
20 minutes. A hole in the wall the size of a man. He walks through it. Inside is a courtyard. It's dark. The smell of smoke and cooked rice. The kitchen is on the left. A small building with a thatched roof. The door is ajar. Light inside. Zhou Yi approaches. Peeks inside. 3 women are sleeping on reed mats by the extinguished hearth. A girl in the corner, small, thin. Her hair is cut short. On her left shoulder is the red brand of the Wei house. The letter Wei is burned into her skin, the size of a fist. Red, inflamed. She is 9 years old. Han Mir, sister. Zhou Yi stands in the doorway and looks at her. His hands are clenched into fists. His knuckles are white. He doesn't move for 10 seconds. Then he enters. Quietly. He sits down next to her. Mir opens her eyes instantly. Slaves sleep lightly. She looks at him. Doesn't recognize him. Then she does. Her eyes widen. She opens her mouth. Zhou Yu presses a finger to her lips. Quiet. Mir closes her mouth. Her eyes are wet. She isn't crying. She's forgotten how. But her eyes are wet. Zhou Yu picks her up. She's light. Too light. Bones beneath the skin. He feels the water in her body. Weak. Poisoned. She's been drinking dirty water for months. Her kidneys are working at their limit. Without treatment, she'll live another 6 months, maybe a year. He holds her close and memorizes the weight. Not a formula, not a number. Weight. His sister's body in his arms. They go out through the hole in the wall. They climb the hill. Baek Sunho and Jin Dao are waiting. No one says a word. They disappear into the night. In the morning, the guards will find the hole in the wall. They'll find an empty mat in the kitchen, and they'll raise the alarm, 12 hours too late. Mir doesn't speak the whole way. She sits on Baek Songho's back and remains silent. Her eyes are open. She looks at Topi, at the poisonous lakes, at the yellow mist, at the reeds rotting in the acidic water. This is her home. She knows no other. On the second day of the journey, Ziyu stops. He sits down in front of his sister, takes her hands, and does what he came here to do. The brand on her shoulder, the red letter Wei, burned into her skin, embedded in her muscle. In 11 months, it will grow into her bone and become permanent, forever. Ziyu Yi places his palm on the brand. Mir shudders, not from pain, from the touch. No one has touched her without causing pain in a very long time. Zhou Yi closes his eyes. Reverse inversion. A skill he had only used on water and on Jin Dao's blood. Now he uses it on the burn. The brand is a burn. A burn is damaged tissue. Damaged tissue is altered molecules. He can return them to their original state.
reverse the inversion, undo the damage, like rewinding a film. The red letter on Meyer's shoulder fades. It dims. It disappears. The skin beneath it is pink, new, like a baby's. Meyer looks at her shoulder. She touches the spot where the letter was with her finger. Smooth skin. Nothing. She looks up at her brother, and for the first time in 2 years, she smiles. Ziyu stands up. His hands are shaking. Another mark in the blood. The 19th. The timer is ticking. Wei Changmin learns of the disappearance a day later. A messenger catches up with him at the training grounds of his father's estate. Changming stands over a water barrel, trying to clean it using the Capital Master's method. His hands shake from the effort. 41 Qing. In 3 weeks of training, he's gone from 38 to 1 point less than what Ziyu used to score in a single day. The messenger says that slave number 6,211 has gone missing from the kitchen. The eastern wing is destroyed. The stone has crumbled into sand. Changmin drops his hands. The water in the barrel remains murky. He turns to the messenger and asks which slave girl. The messenger describes her. A girl, 9 years old. The Wei House brand on her left shoulder. Changming understands. Sister. Sister number 4,471. The very same sister he left on the dam with words about the capital's brothel. The boy came for her. He went through the wall, took her, left, and no one noticed. 200 garrison soldiers, and no one noticed. Changmin stands there in silence for 3 minutes. Then he tips over the water barrel. Water spills across the courtyard, murky, dirty. He couldn't even clean that up. He goes to his father. Wei Gochu sits in his office reading a letter, not from his son, from the house of Shen. The reply has arrived. The patriarch looks up at Changmin. He listens. His face remains unchanged. He says the girl isn't important. The wall isn't important. What's important is the letter in his hand.
The house of Shen is interested. They're sending a man, not a soldier, not a spy, an appraiser, someone who will look at the boy from Topi and decide what to do with him, buy him, break him, or erase him. Gochu says Changmin doesn't need to think about the slave anymore. Changmin must think about the tournament, to win, to show the power of House Wei. House Shen will decide the rest. Changmin stands before his father, his fists white with tension. He doesn't want House Shen to decide. He wants to decide for himself. That boy humiliated him in front of the slaves, killed his dogs, broke through the wall of his house, took his property, his personal property. But his father has already turned away to the letter. Changmin leaves. He stops in the hallway. He thinks, and makes a decision that will change everything. He doesn't go to the training ground. He goes to the East Wing, to the rooms where his younger brother lives. Wei Jianming, 16 years old, 12 Qing, crippled from birth. His left leg is 3 fingers shorter than his right. He walks with a cane. The Wei family considers him a disgrace. Goju never mentions his name at receptions. Changming opens the door. Jianming is sitting by the window, reading a scroll. He looks up. A brief flash of fear crosses his eyes. He's used to being afraid of his older brother. Changming sits down across from him and says he needs a favor. Jianming doesn't answer. He waits. Changming pulls an object from his belt, an imperial collar, a thin black metal band bearing the seal of House Wei, a slave collar. Changmin places it on the table between them. He says that when the boy from Topei comes to the tournament, and he will come because those like him always do, Changmin will lead Jianmin into the arena wearing this collar, and he will say one thing: if you resist, I'll kill my own. The blood will be on you, not on me. Jianming looks at the collar, then at his brother. His hands clench the scroll so tightly the paper tears. He doesn't say a word. He knows it's useless to argue. In the House of Wei, juniors don't argue with seniors. Cripples don't argue with either.
Meanwhile, Ziyu returns to camp. 6 days' journey. Meyer on Baek Song-ho's back. She still silent. But on the 3rd day of the journey, she begins to do a strange thing.
When they stop by a poisonous stream and Joyi purifies the water, Miri sits down nearby and dips her hand into the purified water. And the water reacts, not like it does with Ziyu, weaker, subtler. The water vibrates slightly beneath her fingers, as if it hears her. Baek Song-ho is the first to notice. He tells Ziyu. Ziyu watches. Miri isn't purifying it. She isn't splitting it. She's simply touching the water, and the water responds. Weak empathy, the seed of a skill, the blood of the Han clan. She is an heiress too. She remembers too, only more slowly, more quietly, drop by drop. The camp greets them in silence. 500 people stand by the aqueduct and watch. They know where Joyi went. They know why. And they see the girl in his arms, without a brand, with clear skin on her shoulder. Old woman Ma approaches. She looks at Miri, then at Joyi, then at Miri again. She says one word, Han. Miri turns her head at that word, as if she recognizes it, as if she remembers. Ma takes her by the hand and leads her into the barracks. Gao Lin, the 3rd prince's observer, stands to the side and writes in a scroll. He writes a lot. His hand moves quickly. He records everything. The girl. The absence of a brand. The return. 6 days without a leader, and the camp did not fall apart. The aqueducts worked. Water flowed. 500 people lived without Ziyu. The system works without its creator. Gao Lin underlines the last line twice. Joyi sees him writing. He understands that every word in this scroll will reach the 3rd prince. That's normal. It's part of the plan. The prince must see that the camp is more valuable than a single slave, that the system is more valuable than a skill, that destroying the camp means losing 300 of free water a day, and that number will grow. In the evening, Joyi goes to the assessment stone. Hand on the stone. 64, 65, 66. The stone glows a deep blue. 66 Qing, crystal rank. Baek Song-ho stands nearby and counts in his head. In 45 days, Ziyu has gone from 3 to 66. If this progression continues, he'll be ready for the tournament in 5 weeks. Baek Song-ho doesn't finish his thought. The number forming in his head is impossible. He simply stares at the stone and remains silent. Joyi withdraws his hand. 66. Wei Go-chu is 64. He is already stronger than the patriarch of the Wei house. By number. Not by experience, not in technique, not in knowledge of combat, but in numbers. And the numbers are visible to everyone, on every stone, on every outpost. Impossible to hide, impossible to fake, impossible to dispute. Meyer is sleeping in the barracks. Ma sits next to her and strokes her head. The girl is sleeping without nightmares for the first time in 2 years. Joyu stands at the entrance and watches her. His hands are still. 19 prints. He checks. He places a finger on the surface of the water in the bowl next to his sister. The water is clear. His finger doesn't poison it. Not yet. Not yet. How much time does he have left? 20 prints. 30. 40. He doesn't know the threshold. Ma doesn't know. No one knows. The Han clan was wiped out before anyone could record it. Joyi closes his eyes. Wei Changming. The tournament in 5 weeks. Water. Name. Face. 7 lakes. Over the next 5 weeks, Joyi cleanses the 7 lakes. Not completely. Not until they're clear. But enough so that the reed aqueducts can pump drinking water from them with minimal further purification. 5 aqueducts operate simultaneously. 4,000 chin of clean water a day. The camp has grown to 2,000 people. Slaves arrive every day, from neighboring camps, from distant ones, from beyond the Topi border. Some walk 5 days through poison to get here.
Some don't make it. Bodies remain on the trails like landmarks. But the living follow in their footsteps and come anyway, because rumor runs faster than death. In Topi, there is a place where the water is clean. Baek Seon-ho is building. He stopped being a sapper and became an architect. Barracks made of reeds and clay, walls reinforced with crystallized salt, drainage ditches so that acidic groundwater doesn't erode the foundation. He isn't building a camp, he is building a settlement. Jin Deo goes beyond the Topis every week. He has found trade routes, small clans on the provincial border, the So clan, the Pak clan, the Cho clan, minor ones, 10 to 20 people, insignificant by the standards of the three houses, but they have what the marshes lack: cloth, metal, grain, tools. And they lack what Ziyu has: clean water. Trade begins quietly. 50 ching of water for a sack of rice, 100 ching for a roll of coarse cloth, 200 ching for a coil of iron wire. The prices are laughable by imperial. 1 ching of water is worth a craftsman's daily wage. Zhou Yi sells water at 1/10 the market price. The small clans can't believe their luck. They return. They bring others. In 3 weeks, Zhou Yi has regular suppliers. In 4, regular customers. The economy of Topi begins to breathe. Gao Lin writes report after report. Scrolls are sent to the third prince every 3 days. Gao Lin no longer pretends to be dispassionate. He is amazed. He records the volumes, the routes, the prices, the water distribution system. He writes that the boy from Topi isn't building a camp, he's building a state. A small one, a fragile one, but a state, with its own currency, its own infrastructure, its own economy. And the state is growing. The third prince, Zhang Helian, reads the reports in his office at the provincial palace. 69 Qing, the emperor's youngest son, exiled to oversee a province that no one cares about. He reads and sets the scroll aside. He looks out the window. He thinks. A boy from the marshes. 66 Qing and growing. 2,000 people.
7 lakes. Trade with small clans. An alternative water economy. The prince thinks of his older brothers. The first prince controls the capital's garrison. The second prince controls the trade routes in the west. The third has nothing. The province, Topi, slaves. But what if the slaves suddenly become water suppliers? What if Topi suddenly becomes a source? What if the province suddenly becomes valuable? The prince takes a brush and writes 2 letters. One to Gao Lin Yu. Do not interfere. Observe. Record. The second, short. The recipient is sealed. The messenger heads toward the capital. Zhou Yi knows nothing of the letters. He is busy. His numbers are rising. Every day, every night. Lakes, streams, groundwater. He cleanses everything. On the 70th day from the start, he approaches the Stone of Judgment. Morning, fog. 2,000 people aren't looking. They're working. Aqueducts, construction, trade. The camp lives its own life. Only Baek Song-ho stands nearby. And Ma. And Meyer. Meyer holds her brother's hand. Her fingers are warm, alive. She started speaking a week ago. Her first words were simple. Water, brother, home. Now she speaks more. She asks questions. Why water is sometimes dirty. Why people get sick. Why rain smells like acid. Ziyu answers every one. Patiently, exactly, like an engineer explaining physics to a child, without simplifying, without lying. Miri listens and nods. She understands more than a 9-year-old girl should. Han blood, she remembers. Ziyu places his hand on the stone. The number creeps up. 70, 71, 72. The stone glows brightly. 72 Qing. Crystal rank,
higher than the third prince, higher than old woman Ma, higher than any imperial officer in the province. Ma stands nearby and looks at the stone. Her lips move. She counts. Then she says one sentence. She says that long ago there was a man who gained power at the same rate. His name was Han Yin Yu, the clan's founder. He reached 100 in 2 years, and then he kept growing. Jiu Yi looks at her. Ma is silent. She has already said enough. The stone hums beneath his palm. 72 Qing. 80 days ago, it was 3. He removes his hand. He turns to Baek Song Ho. The tournament is in 12 days. They leave in 3. The provincial capital is a 9-day journey away. Baek Song Ho nods. He's ready. Jin Dao is ready.
Ma will stay at the camp. Mide. Ziyu looks at his sister. She looks at him. She says she wants to go with him. Ziyu shakes his head. She says it's dangerous in the capital, that the Wei house will be there, that Wei Changmin will be there. Mide listens. Then she says that Wei Changmin pushed Mom into the lake and that she wants to see her brother take everything from him. Ziyu falls silent. He looks at her. 9 years old. The brand has been removed, but you can't erase the memory. He nods. She will go. 3 days later, they leave. 4 of them. Jiu Yi, Baek Sung Ho, Jin Dao, Mide. Ma stands at the camp gate and watches them leave. 2,000 people stand behind her, in silence. 5 aqueducts are working. Water is flowing. The system is alive. Jiu Yi turns around once. He sees the camp. Walls. Towers of reeds. Smoke from the kitchens. People. He nods. Once. Then he walks forward, toward the provincial capital, toward the tournament of purity, toward Wei Changmin. Water. A name. A face. 80 days ago, he made a promise. 12 days remain. On the 3rd day of their journey, they pass the imperial outpost at the provincial border, the stone of judgment at the gate. Jiu Yi doesn't touch it. Not now. The stones are linked in a single network. Imperial registrars see every dimension. If he shows 72 on the border stone, the information will reach the capital in a day. The Shen house in 2. He wants them to see his number. But not now. At the tournament. When 12,000 people are watching. When Wei Changmin stands opposite him. When the stone cracks. They pass through the outpost as merchants. Jin Dao bought documents from one of the minor clans. Fake, crude, but sufficient for the border check. The soldiers at the outpost are lazy. The tournament is in 9 days, and the entire garrison thinks only of the bets. Who will win? Which clan? Which fighter? Wei Changmin is on the list of favorites. 41 Qing, heir to the House of Wei. His odds are 3-1. Jiu Yi listens to the soldiers and memorizes. 3-1. In 9 days, the odds will be worth less than the dirty water in the marshes. They're heading for the capital. Along the way, Jiu Yi cleans. Quietly, unnoticed. Every stream, every well, every puddle. His count creeps up. 73. 74. The body remembers. The blood remembers. The Han clan remembers. And the number of poison traces in his blood creeps up along with his rank. 21. 22. The race continues. He must grow faster than he dies. The provincial capital smells of burnt oil and fear. 9 days' journey, and here it is. White stone walls 20 men high. Gates clad in copper bearing the coat of arms of the Qinghe Empire. A line of 300 people at the entrance. Merchants, pilgrims, clan warriors in ceremonial robes with flasks on their belts. The Tournament of Purity gathers the province once a year, and the city swells to twice its size. Ziyu stands in line barefoot, clad in the tattered clothes of a slave. Meyer is beside him. Baek Songho is behind him.
Jin Dao has gone ahead to scout. A merchant in front turns around and grimaces. He looks at Ziyu's scarred legs, at his hands, burned, at the girl in rags. He turns away. The swamp has come to the capital. They don't like that here. At the gates are 2 rating stones. Everyone entering places a hand on them. Standard procedure. The rank is recorded in the registration scroll. Zhou Yi stands before the stone and thinks, to reveal it now or not? 74 Qing, a number that will cause panic in the registrar and attract the attention of every official in the city. If the Wei House finds out before the tournament, they might remove Changmin from the fights. They might organize an attack at night. They might poison the food. Zhou Yi places his hand on the stone and does something he has never done before. He holds back. The life filter works both ways. It can separate, it can purify, and it can hide. Suppress his rating. Hide the real number behind a false one. The stone lights up. 19 Qing. Muddy rank. The upper limit. A slave with a rating slightly better than most. Nothing interesting. The registrar yawns and makes a note. Proceed. They enter the city. Baek Song-ho walks beside him and says nothing. He saw the number on the stone, 19. He knows the real number. He understands what Ziyu did, but he doesn't understand how. Rank suppression is a technique mastered by crystal rank masters and above, and even they can hide a maximum of 10 units. Ziyu hid 55. Baek Song-ho decides he's stopped being surprised. He's wrong. He hasn't even started yet. Jin Dao is waiting for them at the market square. News! The tournament is in 3 days. Fighter registration is tomorrow before sunset. To participate, you need one of 2 things: membership in a clan with an imperial charter, or a personal challenge from a current participant. Zhou Yi belongs to no clan. He has no charter. He has no name. He is slave number 4,471. He needs a challenge. Jin Dao says that Wei Changming is already in town. He's staying at the Wei family mansion in the upper quarter. He trains every day at a private facility. His latest rating is 41 Qing. The capital master is still with him. 12 guards ranging from 30 to 40 Qing stand nearby. Zhou Yi listens and nods. Then he asks about one more thing. Where is the registration area? Jin Dao points the way. Clearwater Square, downtown. There will be a crowd there in the morning. Clan fighters, officials, spectators, and Wei Changmin, because registration is public. Each fighter steps up to the stone and reveals their rank. The crowd sees the number. The crowd places bets. The crowd memorizes the names. Ziyu has no intention of registering. He intends to force Changmin to summon him personally. Morning, Clearwater Square. The rating stone stands in the center, on a stone pedestal as tall as a man. Grandstands surround it. 2,000 spectators for registration. There will be 12,000 at the tournament. The fighters come out one by one. The Chung clan, 38 Qing. Applause. The Ryu clan, 42 Qing. Whistles and cheers. The Hei clan, 35. Silence. A bit weak. Wei Changmin enters fourth. Ceremonial armor. A plum-skinned silk cape. A flask on his belt. A smile. He loves the crowd. The crowd loves the name Wei. He places his hand on the stone. 41 Qing. Applause. Loud. House Wei. Air. 41. Strong. Transparent rank. Second category favorite. Changmin raises his hand and greets the crowd. His face is beaming. Smug. Full. Shiny with sweat and the oil he rubbed into his skin for shine. Ziyu stands in the crowd. Barefoot. In torn clothes. Meyer is beside him. She's holding his hand. He feels her pulse through his fingers. Fast. She sees Changmin. She remembers his face. remembers how he took her chin. She remembers the words about the brothel. Her hand squeezes his fingers tighter. Ziyu squeezes back. Quietly, calmly, he waits. Changmin steps down from the pedestal.
He walks past the crowd. The guards part before him. He heads for the exit. And then Ziyu takes a step forward. One step. From the crowd into the open space of the square. 2 steps. 3. He stands in Changmin's path, barefoot, in a torn shirt, with scars on his back visible through the tears. Changmin stops, looks down at him, doesn't recognize him. Then he recognizes him. His face changes. The color drains from his cheeks. His eyes narrow. His lips press into a thin line. He has recognized him. Slave number 4471. The boy from Tope. The one who killed his dogs. Who broke through his wall. Who took his property. That very one. Here, in the capital. In the square before 1,000 spectators. Zhou Yi speaks a single sentence, loudly, so that the entire square can hear. He says he is challenging the heir of the Wei Changmin house to a duel at the Tournament of Purity, by a slave's right to contest a brand. Paragraph 41 of the Qinghe slave statutes. The square falls silent. Paragraph 41. An ancient right, almost forgotten. A slave has the right to challenge his master to a duel if he proves his rank is higher than his master's. If the slave wins, the brand is removed. If he loses, execution on the spot. No one has exercised this right in 100 years, because no slave has ever held a rank higher than his master's. Changmin looks at Ziyu. His lips tremble, not from fear, from rage. This filthy boy is challenging him publicly, before the crowd, before the officials, in front of the tournament registrar. If he refuses, he will show weakness. The House of Wei does not show weakness. Changmin takes a step forward and says he accepts. The crowd erupts. Noise, shouts, bets change on the fly. A slave against the heir of the Wei house. No one remembers the last time something like this happened. The tournament registrar runs to the pedestal with the scroll. He records it. A duel. Wei Changmin, 41 Qing, against slave number 4471. He turns to Ziyu and says a rank check is needed. Ziyu places his hand on the stone. Suppression. 22 Qing. A murky rank. The crowd roars with laughter. 22 against 41. Suicide. The boy is crazy. The odds on Changmin drop to 15-1. No one will bet on a slave with 22. Changmin smiles, broadly, smugly. He thinks he's won. He thinks he'll crush this moth in a second and reclaim the honor the boy took from him in Topia. He turns to the crowd and says that in 3 days, he'll show what happens to slaves who forget their place. Applause. Changmin leaves. Guards follow him. Ziyu stands in the square. The crowd parts around him. No one approaches. A barefoot slave with the number 22, Qing, a walking corpse. In 3 days, he will be executed in the arena. That is what everyone thinks. Meyer stands behind him. She does not laugh. She saw the number on the stone in the camp, 72. She knows her brother showed 22, and she knows why. Because the surprise must be in the arena, in front of 12,000 people, in front of the entire province, in front of the Wei house. Baek Song-ho approaches. He quietly says that the move is risky, that Changmin might send assassins before the tournament.
now that he knows Ziyu is in the city. Ziyu replies that Changmin won't send assassins, because Changmin wants to kill him personally, in public, in the arena, to wash away the shame, to show his father that he is worthy, to show the third prince that he must be reckoned with.
Changmin won't kill him in an alley. He'll kill him in broad daylight in front of the entire province. Or he'll try to. 3 days until the tournament. Ziyu isn't training. He isn't cleansing. He isn't building. For 3 days, he sits in a cheap inn by the south gate and waits. Meyer sits next to him and draws with a stick on the dirt floor. She draws water. Wavy lines, circles, spirals. Her fingers move with confidence. She isn't thinking. She's drawing what the blood remembers. Zhou looks at the drawings and sees something in them. Patterns, structures, similar to filtration diagrams, similar to flowcharts. The Han blood remembers more than just power. It remembers knowledge, and Meyer draws it without understanding what she is drawing. He memorizes every line. On the third night, he goes out onto the hotel roof. The city sleeps. Torches on the walls, lights in the upper quarter where the houses live, the moon above the rooftops. He looks at his hands. 22 poison imprints. Tomorrow is the tournament. Tomorrow, he will use inversion on a living body. 14 imprints of the salt dogs in his blood will transfer into Changmin's body. This will take some of the burden off his own blood, but it will add a new one. Every inversion leaves its mark. After the tournament, there will be more imprints, not fewer. He pays for retribution with his own time. Every act of vengeance shortens the time until his touch kills Meyer. He knows this, and he goes on, because retribution is not a luxury. Retribution is the foundation. If Changmin isn't broken in public, the House of Wei will continue to consider Ziyu a runaway slave, will continue to hunt, will continue to threaten everyone who drinks its water. Breaking Changmin isn't revenge. It's an engineering solution. Remove the weak link. Show the system that the cost of an attack is higher than the cost of peace. Wei Changmin, morning, water, name, face. Today is the first. Zhou enters the provincial capital, concealing his rank at 19 Qing. At the tournament registration, he publicly challenges Wei Changmin under the ancient slave's right to contest the brand. He displays a false 22 Qing. The crowd considers him a suicide. Changmin accepts the challenge. Meyer draws water patterns stored in the blood of the Han clan. There are 22 imprints in the blood. The tournament is in 3 days. The Great Qinghe Arena, round, stone, 12,000 seats, all filled. The morning sun glares into the eyes of the spectators in the eastern stands. The western stands are in shadow. The imperial box at the top is covered by an indigo silk canopy. Silhouettes behind the canopy. The third prince, Jiang Helian, sits in the front row of the box. 69 Qing. His face is calm. He waits. An empty chair beside him. The curtain behind the chair is drawn. Someone sits behind it. Zhou cannot see who it is. The arena is wet. Before the fights, the arena is flooded with water up to the ankles, a tradition of the tournament. The Qinghe fighters battle in the water. Water is the medium. Water is a weapon. Water is the measure. Whoever controls the water better wins. 4 matches before noon. The Qiang clan against the Ryu clan. 38 against 42. The match lasts 3 minutes. The Ryu clan wins with a water hold. The crowd applauds. Next, and next. Ziyu sits in the challengers section, the lowest tier. No roof, no seats, a stone bench. Next to him is Baek Seong-ho. Meyer sits on her brother's lap. Jin Dao stands behind them. His eyes scan the crowd. He's looking for a threat. There is a threat. 12 guards from the Wei House are stationed throughout the stands. 4 at the exit, 2 on the roofs of neighboring buildings. If it goes wrong, they will intervene. Not during the fight, after the fight. If Ziyu wins, the Wei House will not let him leave the arena alive. Jin Dao knows their positions. He is a former dog. He thinks like them.
and he has already prepared 3 escape routes. Noon. The sun is at its zenith. The herald steps onto the platform and announces, "A duel by right of a slave, paragraph 41. Challenger, slave number 4471, 22 Qing, murky rank, defended. Wei Changmin, 41 Qing, transparent rank, heir to the House of Wei." The crowd buzzes. They've been waiting for this. The main event of the day. A suicidal slave versus the heir. The odds on Changmin are 20-1. No one is betting on the slave. Wei Changmin enters the arena first. His ceremonial armor is off. Combat suit. Lightweight. Black with silver embroidery. A flask on his belt. That very one. The one he's carried since he was a teenager. A status symbol. He raises his hands and the crowd cheers. He smiles. He's in his element. The arena is his world. The Wei House has won the tournament 7 years in a row, and Changmin intends to continue the tradition. Ziyu stands up. Mirai lets go of his hand. She looks up at him. Her eyes are dry, calm, more mature than a 9-year-old girl should be. She says one word, "Go." Ziyu steps into the arena, barefoot, dressed as a slave. The scars on his back are visible to the entire arena. The crowd is silent at first. Then they start laughing. 12,000 people are laughing at a barefoot boy with 22 Qing. Wei Changming isn't laughing. He looks at Ziyu and something flashes in his eyes. Not fear, wariness. He remembers Topi, remembers the dogs, remembers the wall that crumbled into sand. But the stone showed 22. Stones don't lie. The stones of the judgment are never wrong. 22. Changming relaxes, smiles again, and then 2 figures emerge from the passage behind the arena. A guard from the Wei House leads a boy, 16 years old, skinny. His left leg is shorter than his right. A cane. Around his neck, a black imperial collar bearing the seal of the Wei House. Wei Jianming, Changmin's younger brother. A cripple. The crowd falls silent. Changmin turns to Ziyu and speaks loudly so the entire arena can hear. He says that if the slave resists, his younger brother will die. The collar activates with a single word. The blood will be on the slave's conscience, not Changmin's. 12,000 people are silent. The stands are frozen. In the imperial box, the third prince leans forward. His eyes narrow. He didn't know about this. No one knew. Wei Jianming stands at the edge of the arena. His face is ashen. His eyes are empty. He isn't looking at his brother. He's looking at the water beneath his feet. Ziyu stands in the arena and looks at the collar. Black metal around the boy's neck. The seal of the House of Wei, activated by a word. One sound and the collar will tighten. He senses the water in Jianming's body. Weak, 12 Qing, a cripple. A boy who has done nothing to anyone. A hostage of his own brother. Ziyu thinks. 3 seconds? 4. 5. The crowd waits. Changmin waits. Jianmin waits. The answer lies in the 6th second. Ziyu raises his hand, an open palm, and directs it not at Changmin, toward Jianming. The water in the arena shimmers. A thin stream rises from the arena floor and flies toward the boy's neck, but not like a whip, like a needle, microscopic, transparent. It penetrates the collar's clasp. Ziyu feels the metal, feels the water inside the metal. Microscopic moisture in the pores of the black alloy. He pulls, like with the manor's wall. Moisture seeps out of the metal. The metal dries. It cracks. The collar bursts. It falls onto the stones of the arena in 2 halves. Without a sound. Without an explosion. It simply falls apart. Jianming stands. He touches his neck. Empty. Free. His eyes widen. He turns toward the arena, toward Ziyu. The slave boy in tattered clothes has just removed the imperial collar from a distance of 30 paces without touching it. The crowd doesn't understand what has happened. Chang Ming doesn't understand what has happened. But the third prince in the box understands. And the man behind the curtain understands. And Elder Gu Winshan, the imperial registrar of the Stones of Evaluation, who sits in the official section with an open scroll, understands. 78 Qing. For 40 years he has recorded ranks. He has seen much. He has never seen anything like this.
No one with 22 Qing can shatter metal by extracting moisture. That's a crystal rank technique at the very least. The boy lied to the stone. That doesn't happen. Gu Wenshan slowly lowers his brush and stares at the arena without blinking. Chang Ming comes to his senses. His face is red. He shouts an attack. Water in the arena rises around him in 2 streams. A standard transparent rank technique. 2 water whips. Fast. 41 Qing. The whips fly toward Ziyu from both sides. Ziyu doesn't move. He stands still. The whips stop in midair. A meter from his body. They freeze. The water hangs in the air and doesn't fall. Changmin pulls. He strains. His face turns crimson with the effort. The whips don't move. Ziyu holds them, not with his hands, with his will. 74 Qing against 41. A difference of 33 units. An abyss. Changmin strains harder. The veins in his neck bulge. The whips tremble, and they begin to move. In the opposite direction, toward Changmin. He lets go. The whips fall through the water onto the stones of the arena. A splash. Silence. 12,000 people hold their breath. Ziyu takes a step. 1. He touches the surface of the water in the arena with his palm. And the stone of judgment on the pedestal in the center of the arena begins to glow. On its own, without being touched. It reacts to a presence. To the power standing barefoot in the water. A number appears on the stone, slowly. 70, 71, 72, 73, 74. The stone cracks. Zhuo Yi does not touch it. The stone reacts from a distance. This has never happened before. Not once in the entire history of the tournaments. 74 Qing. The stone splits in half. The crack runs through the number. Pieces fall onto the pedestal. 12,000 people see the number before the stone shatters. 74. Crystal rank. For a barefoot slave in tattered clothes, Elder Gu Winshan drops the scroll. The brush rolls across the stone floor of the box. He looks at the shards of stone and his lips move silently. Chang Min stands ankle-deep in water and looks at the shards of the judgment stone. 74. The number burns in his eyes like a brand. He turns white, then red, then white again. His hands are shaking, not from fear, from understanding. The boy had hidden his rank. The boy had lied to the stone at the gate. 22 was a lie. 74 is the truth. Almost twice as much as he has. Almost twice as much as his father has. Changmin takes a step back. Water splashes under his boots. His body screams to run. His pride screams to stand. Pride wins. It always won with Changmin. It is his weakness, and Ziyu knows it. Changmin raises his hands and gathers all the water in the arena. Not 2 streams, all of it. Hundreds of liters. They rise around him like a wall, a ring, spinning. The last technique the capital's master taught him. The whirlpool of pure waters. Defense and attack at the same time. The ring of water contracts and shoots out in all directions at once. Ziyu stands still. Water flies toward him and stops.
not a meter away, a centimeter from his skin. Drops hang in the air around his body like glass beads. 12,000 people see a slave boy surrounded by frozen drops of water. He stands in a cocoon of a frozen attack and doesn't move. Then the drops fall, all at once, on the stones of the arena. A splash and silence. Jiu takes 3 steps forward. Changmin backs up. His back presses against the stone edge of the arena.
There's nowhere else to go. Jiu stops in front of him, at arm's length. He doesn't strike. He doesn't attack. He reaches out and touches the flask on Changmin's belt. That very flask. The one Changmin has carried since he was a teenager. A symbol of a purifier's status. Inside is the finest water the House of Wei can produce, purified by 50th rank priests, clear as a tear. Jiu touches the flask. A single touch. The water inside trembles, then thickens, then hardens. A crystal of poison forms inside the flask. Jiu feels the pure water turn into concentrated poison. Reverse inversion. The pure becomes poisonous. The blessed becomes cursed. The flask cracks. A yellow-green crystal peeks through the crack. Changmin looks down, at his flask, at the crystal. His status symbol has just become a symbol of poison. But Jiu isn't finished. He raises his hand and touches Changmin's palm. One finger, the index finger, toward the center of the palm. Changmin flinches. He tries to pull his hand away. He can't. His body won't obey him. The water in his blood does not obey him. It obeys Jiu. Inversion. The 14 imprints of poison that Jiu has carried in his blood since the death of the dogs. The poison from the 4 crystals that killed the dogs in the camp. The poison he hoarded, carried, endured. 14 imprints pass through Jiu's finger into Changmin's body. Changmin opens his mouth. The sound that comes out of it is not a scream, a wheeze, gurgling, wet. His eyes roll back, his knees buckle, he falls, to his knees, into the water. He coughs. Black liquid flows from his mouth, not blood, poison. Crystallized poison oozes out through every pore. Black droplets on his skin, on his hands, on his face, on his neck. He coughs and cannot stop. 10 seconds, 20, 30. Changmin stands on his knees in the poisonous water, wheezing. The crowd is silent. 12,000 people watch the heir to the House of Wei kneeling before a barefoot slave. Changmin raises his head. His eyes are red, cloudy. He tries to raise his hand, tries to scoop up water. Just a drop. Nothing. The water won't obey him. His chi channels are clogged with poison. His purification skill is dead. Not temporarily, forever. 14 imprints of poison from 4 different crystals have burned his channels from the inside. He will never purify water again. Not a drop. Not a sip. For the rest of his life, he will buy water like a commoner, like a slave, like a number. Jiu leans in, close, so that only Changmin can hear, and says, I told you. Water, name, face. I've only just begun, Wei Changmin. Then he straightens up, looks at the arena, sees his mother's wooden amulet. It fell out of Changmin's pocket when he dropped to his knees. It lies in the water, small, wooden, with the character Han carved into it. Jiu picks it up, clutches it in his fist. The wood is warm, as if his mother had just been holding it in her hands. He turns and walks toward the arena exit. Behind him, Changmin is on his knees, coughing up black phlegm. The tournament medics rush to him. 12,000 people are silent. Then someone in the lower stands begins to clap. One person, then a second, a third, 10, 100, 1,000. The arena explodes, not with applause, with a roar. They aren't applauding Jiu. They're clapping because they don't know what else to do.
They've just witnessed the impossible. A slave with 74 Qing. A fight that lasted 11 seconds, not counting the collar. The heir to the Wei house on his knees in his own poisoned water. The stone of judgment by her presence. Meyer stands on the podium. She looks at Chang Min on his knees, then at her brother, then back at Chang Min. Her face is calm. She is 9 years old. She is not seeking revenge. She is simply looking at the man who pushed her mother into acid and spoke of a brothel. And that man is on his knees, coughing up black phlegm. She takes Baek Seon-ho by the hand and quietly says she wants to leave. Baek Seon-ho lifts her into his arms and carries her toward the exit. In the imperial box, the third prince leans back in his chair. His face is unreadable. He turns to the empty chair beside him. The curtain stirs. From behind it, a quiet voice utters 2 words, Han's blood. The third prince nods. Gu Wenshan sits in the official section and looks at the shards of stone. Then he slowly takes out a blank scroll. He picks up a new brush and writes, Slave number 4471, 74 Qing, crystal. Then he stops, looks at what he has written, and erases it. For the first time in 40 years, he erases an entry. Officially, to double-check the data. Secretly, to give the boy time. Because if this record reaches the imperial court, it won't be the dogs or the princes who come for the boy. The empire itself will come. The fight lasts 11 seconds. Zhou Yi stops Changmin's attack mid-air. He turns the water in Changmin's flask into a crystal of poison. Through inversion, he transfers 14 traces of poison into Changmin's body, permanently destroying his purification ability. He takes his mother's wooden amulet. Elder Gu Wenshan erases the record of Zhou Yi's rank to hide him from the imperial court. Behind the curtain in the box, the words Blood of Han are spoken. Zhou Yi leaves the arena, and the world is already different. A corridor beneath the stands. Dim light. The roar of the crowd above. Baek Song-ho waits with Meyer in his arms. Jin Deo stands by the wall, his hand resting on the hilt of a knife. His eyes say they must leave right now. Guards of the Wei house, 4 at the exit. They already know. They saw it. Their master is on his knees, coughing up black phlegm, and the boy who did it is walking toward them. Jin Dao leads them through a side corridor, not to the main exit, to the service entrance, the passage for the arena cleaners. Narrow, dark. It reeks of wet stone and stale water. They walk quickly. Meyer is silent. She has wrapped her arms around Baek Son-ho's neck and won't let go. Light at the end of the corridor, the street. A crowd of spectators pours out of the arena. Noise, shouts. Everyone is talking about the same thing. The slave, 74. The stone split. Wei Changming is on his knees. They disappear into the crowd. 4 among thousands. No one looks at the barefoot boy in tattered clothes. Everyone is looking for a hero. There is no hero. There is an engineer who did his job and left. Jin Dao leads them to the south gate. 3 blocks, 2 turns, an alley. A cart is waiting for them. Jin Dao arranged it in advance. The driver is from the small Cho clan. The fare is 10 Qing of pure water. They get in. The cart sets off. Meyer falls asleep in Baek Song-ho's arms even before they drive out the gate. Ziyu sits in the cart and counts. 14 prints went to Chang Min, but the inversion added 3 new ones. Not from the crystals, from the transfer process itself. Total: 22 minus 14 plus 3. 11. 11 imprints in the blood. Fewer than there were, but not 0. And every subsequent act of inversion will add more. The timer is slowed down. It hasn't stopped. The cart travels along the road to Topyam, a 2-day journey. Ziyu closes his eyes, his mother's amulet in his fist, warm, wooden, with the character Han carved into it. He presses it to his chest and breathes. For a second. For just 1 second, he is not an engineer, not an avenger, not the last heir. He is simply a boy who lost his mother and has just recovered the only thing left of her. The second passes. He opens his eyes. The engineer returns. The work is not finished. Wei Changming is broken, but the House of Wei stands. Wei Go 2 is alive. 64 Qing, crystal rank. A patriarch who doesn't get angry, but calculates. And the House of Shen. Go Chu's letter has arrived. The appraiser is on his way, or has already arrived. They've been traveling for 2 days. At the approach to Topia, Ziyu senses water. Far away. Very far away. Before, he could sense it 20 paces away. Now 200. 500. His range grows along with his rank. He senses the lakes of Topia, 10 li from the border. He senses the aqueducts. He senses the water in the bodies of 2,000 people. Everyone is alive. Everyone is in place. The system is working. Then he senses something else. Water that wasn't there when he left. New. Foreign. A single body, far from the camp, on the eastern border of Topia, standing motionless, waiting. The water in this body is pure, smooth, like a mirror. Such purity is found only in those of very high rank, above 70, above 80. Zhou Yi cannot determine exactly, but the man standing on the eastern border is stronger than him. He turns to Jin Do and asks if there is any news from the camp. Jin Do shakes his head. No messengers. Silence. Silence is bad. They enter the camp by evening. Ma meets them at the gate. Her face is gray. She says a man came 3 days ago, alone, without guards, without weapons, short, old, in the white robe of a Qinghe priest. He entered the camp. He looked at the aqueducts. He looked at the people. Then he approached the stone of assessment and placed his hand on it. The stone did not light up. The stone trembled, a slight vibration, as if from fear. No number appeared. The stone could not measure him. Ma says that in 40 years of service as a priestess, she has seen this only once, when the high priest Qinghe visited a provincial temple. The stones cannot measure those who exceed their calibration. A standard assessment stone is designed for a range up to 100. This man was above 100. Zhao Yi is silent. His hands are still. His face is calm. Inside, there is coldness. The man asked when the boy would return. Ma replied that she did not know. The man nodded. He smiled. He said he would wait. He went to the eastern border, and he stands there. 3 days. He doesn't eat. He doesn't drink. He doesn't move. He just stands and waits. Jin Dao asks who it is. Ma answers. She recognized the robe. She recognized the seal on the sleeve. The seal she had seen once in her life when she herself was initiated as a priestess 30 years ago. The seal of the high priest Qinghe. Ma utters the name. Shen Wujin, 94 Qing. Diamond Peak, head of the Shen house, the man who personally performed the heaven-splitting ritual 200 years ago, the man who destroyed the Han clan, the man who is 237 years old. And he stands at the edge of the camp and waits. Baek Song-ho slowly lowers Meyer to the ground. His face is pale. 41 Qing against someone over 100. He understands what that number means. Jin Dao doesn't move. His hand is on his knife, a meaningless gesture. A knife against 94 Qing is a straw against a fire. Meyer stands next to her brother. She senses him. She senses the water in his body. She has learned this over the past few weeks. The water in Jiyu's body is calm, even. He is not afraid. Or perhaps he is afraid so deeply that the water does not show it. Ziyu stands at the camp gate and looks east. There, beyond the border of Topi, 10 li away, stands the man who killed his clan, who poisoned the continent, who created a world in which water is more precious than life, and who has come for him. Ziyu slips his hand into his pocket and clutches his mother's amulet. The wood is warm, the character Han beneath his fingers. Then he lifts his head and walks toward the eastern border, alone. Baek Ho takes a step after him. Ziyu turns around. He shakes his head. Alone. Baek Ho stops. He wants to object. He cannot. He sees Jiyu's face. There is no fear on that face. There is calculation. A cold, steady, engineering-like calculation. A boy is walking to meet a god, and he is calculating. After the tournament, Ziyu returns to camp. The number of blood-stained seals has dropped to 11. Ma reports that 3 days ago, a man in a white robe whose rank stone could not measure came to the camp. This is Shen the high priest of Qinghe 94 Qing and head of the House of Shen, who is 237 years old. He personally performed the rite of schism and destroyed the class Han. He is waiting at the eastern border of Topei. Jiuyi goes to him alone. Shen Wujin stands on a rock at the border of Topei. A small old man in a white robe, thin, gaunt, like a branch that has survived 100 winters. His hair is white to the point of transparency. His eyes are closed. He has stood there for 3 days and looks like a statue, were it not for the wind stirring the hem of his robe. Jiuyi approaches. He stops 10 paces away. He looks. He senses the water within the old man's body and recoils inwardly. He does not show it, but he recoils. The water in Shen Wujin's body does not move like water. It moves like mercury, heavy, thick, completely under control. Every molecule in its place. Not a single superfluous movement. 94 Qing, purified over 200 years of continuous practice. Jiuyi has 74, a difference of 20 units. 20 units at the crystal and diamond levels is not a chasm. It is another universe. Shen Wujin opens his eyes. Dark, black, without whites. The eyes of a man who watched a continent burn and decided it was good. He looks at Ziyu and smiles. Slowly, like a man who meets an old acquaintance after a very long separation. He says he's been waiting. He says 3 days is nothing to someone who's waited 200 years. He says he recognized the blood of the Han when the stone in the arena split. The rating stones are linked in a network. He feels every one, across the entire continent. When the stone in the provincial capital cracked, he felt it in the imperial capital 8,000 li away. And he laughed, for the first time in 200 years. Because if the stone cracks, it means the Han clan has returned. And if the Han clan has returned, it means it's time to end this. Jiuyi stands and listens. His face is calm. His hands are at his sides. His feet are bare on the poisonous soil of Topi, the soil that this very old man poisoned 200 years ago. Shen Wujin takes a step off the stone. His feet touch the poisonous mud, and the mud recedes. It spreads out around his feet in a perfect circle. The poison dares not touch him. 94 Qing. The world obeys. He approaches Jiuyi. 5 steps. 4. 3. He stops 2 steps away. He looks down on him. Even though he is shorter, the difference in rank creates an illusion. The old man exerts a massive power that cannot be seen but can be felt in every drop of water in the body. Jiuyi feels it, the pressure, the weight. His own water tries to submit to another's will. Kneel. Bow. He won't let it happen. 74 Qing press against 94 and hold. They don't win. They hold. Shen Wujin raises an eyebrow. He is surprised, not by the reading, by the stubbornness. The boy knows he will lose and does not yield, just like back then, just like 200 years ago. The Han clan never bowed. That's why they had to be killed. He says this out loud, calmly, like a historical fact. He says that the Han clan was the greatest gift to the Hyogyong continent and the greatest threat. Because free water is not a blessing, it is the destruction of order. Without a monopoly on water, there is no empire. Without the empire, there is no law. Without law, there is chaos. The three houses made a choice to poison the land to save civilization, to kill millions so the rest might live by the rules. He says he has no regrets, not a single day in 200 years. Jiu listens, then he asks one question. She asks what the true purity rating of the founder of the Han clan was. Shen Wujin falls silent. For the first time during the conversation, his smile fades. He looks at Jiu for a long time. Then he answers, 187. Silence. Even the wind dies down. 187. The purity scale goes up to 100. So they say, so they teach. So it is recorded in every imperial archive. The upper limit is 100. True rank begins at 96. There is nothing above 100. But it happens. It happened. 187. It took 3 houses and a ritual that poisoned half the continent to kill a single person with a reading of 187. Shen Wujin says the purity scale was created after the schism, on purpose, with a ceiling of 100, so that no one would know the true limit doesn't exist, so that no one would strive higher, so that no one would remember that once a single clan reached a number that would have shattered the stones of the entire continent. Jiu stands, his hands trembling, not from fear, from understanding. The scale lies, the stones lie, the empire lies. Everything is built on a single lie, that power has a limit. Shen Wujin raises his hand, slowly. His palm is directed at Jiu. He says he did not come to judge, he came to finish. 200 years ago, they killed the founder. 150 years ago, they found and killed his children. 100 years ago, they found and killed his grandchildren. 50 years ago, they stopped searching. They decided the clan was dead. They were wrong. He isn't angry. He is correcting a mistake. The pressure builds. The water inside Jiu screams. Every cell, every vessel, every drop is trying to break free. 94 Qing pressed down like an ocean on a grain of sand. Ziyu falls to one knee. His teeth are clenched. Blood from his nose, from his ears. His body is breaking, but he doesn't lie down. One knee, not two, not face down the ground, one knee. Shen Wujin tilts his head. Interesting. The boy is holding on one knee. 74 Qing against 94. It shouldn't be possible. The difference is too great. And then Jiu does what he has never done before. He lowers his hand into the mud, into the fertile soil of the tope, into the blood of his ancestors spilled 200 years ago. And he draws it up. Not water, not poison, memory. The blood of the Han in the earth responds, like an echo, like a voice from the depths. Every crystal within 100-step radius resonates. The earth hums. The water in the lakes rises. The reeds tremble. And Jiu's reading jumps. It doesn't creep, it jumps. He feels it like an explosion inside, like a dam that's been breached. 75, 78, 80, 81. Shen Wujin's pressure recedes by 1 step, 2 steps. The boy rises from his knee. He stands up, blood on his face, mud on his hands. 81 Qing, diamond rank, the first in 200 years, since the execution of the Han clan. Shen Wujin retreats. His smile returns, wider than before.
He is not frightened. He is delighted. He says he understands that the boy isn't learning, the boy is remembering. And every day he will remember more. And one day he will remember everything. And then, Shen Wujin doesn't finish the sentence. He removes his hand. The pressure vanishes instantly, as if it had never been there. Zhou Yi stands and breathes heavily. Blood drips from his chin. His body is broken by the pressure. 3 ribs are broken. His left shoulder is dislocated, but he stands. Shen Wujin turns his back, takes a step, stops. He speaks without turning around. He says he's giving him 1 year. In a year, he'll come back and finish the job. Not because he's afraid, because he wants to see how much Han's blood will grow in a year. He's bored. He's been bored for 200 years. The boy is his first entertainment in 2 centuries. He wants to enjoy it. Shen Wujin leaves. His footsteps are silent. The mud parts. The poison retreats. The white robe vanishes into the morning mist. Zhou Yi stands at the border of Tope, alone, with 3 broken ribs and a dislocated shoulder, with 81 Qing in his blood, with his mother's amulet in his fist, with 11 traces of poison in his veins, with 2,000 people behind him who depend on him, with a sister waiting in camp, with a name that had been erased for 200 years and which he had just restored to the stone of judgment before 12,000 witnesses. He stands and looks in the direction the old man took. 94 Qing, 237 years of life. The man who killed his clan, poisoned his land, created a world where water is more precious than blood, and gave him a year, as if tossing a bone to a dog. Zhou Yi clenches his fist. The amulet creaks between his fingers. He counts. 1 year, 365 days. He needs to grow from 81 to 187, or at least to 95. Impossible. He knows that. And he does it anyway. Because he is an engineer. Engineers don't decide whether something is possible or not, they decide how. Behind him, black clouds are gathering in the sky above the provincial capital. Gao Lin stands on the roof of the barracks and looks up at the sky. Ma stands beside him. Her face is gray. She recognizes these clouds. She has seen them in drawings in the temple archives. Old ones. 200 years old. Clouds from which the black rain fell. Ma says one word. Schism. The black clouds grow. They block out the sun. The first drop falls on the ground of Topi. Black. Thick. Like oil. It sizzles on the stone. Leaves a hole. A second drop. A third. 10. The black rain. The second in 200 years. Shen Wujin gave him a year and started the countdown. Shen Wujin reveals the truth about the purity scale. There is no upper limit. The founder of the Han clan had 187 Qing. The scale with a ceiling of 100 was created after the schism to hide the truth. Shen Wujin presses down on Ziyu with a force of 94 Qing. But Ziyu draws resonance from the blood of his ancestors in the land of Topi and surges to 81 Qing. Diamond rank. Shen Wujin leaves and gives him a year. The second black rain begins to fall over the capital.